Hello, and welcome to my dining room. This is episode 26 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. My name is Anne, or Annie, and I'm coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. Today is Friday the 13th, September 13th, 2024. And I'm not going to tempt fate today. This is probably the most dangerous thing I'm going to do, if you could call it dangerous. I just have a relaxing day planned of knitting, mostly knitting, because I have a deadline that I need to achieve. So before that happens, we'll talk about knitting for a little while. I would like to say thank you again also for all of the views, the subscribers, the wonderful comments via email and comments, in the YouTube episodes. That they're just great. They warm my heart. And I didn't realize that the last episode, which I think was the 25th of August, was exactly 1 year to the day of doing the podcast. So that was my anniversary podcast. And it kind of makes sense because here comes George. He's been up here 3 times already, and I've had to get rid of him. I'd like to send both cats outside, but they could get into big trouble out there if I couldn't watch them. Okay, he's going to take over the show. No, he's just going to be annoying. So, here. Yes, it's been a year, and I've been trying to do the episodes every 2 weeks, so this being episode 26 kind of makes sense that way. But I didn't realize it at the time that I was doing that. So looking back on a year, it made me wonder. I thought, wow, did I expect the response that I had in a year? And I mean, I know I'm not, a high-end podcaster with thousands and thousands of followers, but I still enjoy what I'm doing. It invigorates me. And I think it invigorates you a little bit, or you find something good in it, and that's what keeps me going. And I will keep going. Yeah, I thought, well, how long will I do this? I don't know. What if I wanted to stop tomorrow? I don't, but, what if? I didn't really think all that through. I just thought, well, I'm going to try this and see what it's like. So it's very interesting, and I'm learning as I go. With that, it's iced coffee today. It's a little warm still. We're having a heat wave this week, and I think a few days next week. And then maybe we'll get back to normal temperatures for mid-September, which is hard to believe it's mid-September already. Time flies very much. We can't stop it, can we? So one other little update I want to make, if you like the podcast, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of episodes, all those wonderful things. But I also want to say, since the last episode, here he comes again. I finally updated the blog and put in all of the show notes and information from all the past episodes. I think I was way behind. I think I had only done 4 or 5 episodes. I was up to like the holiday time, Christmas time. So this is what George wants, and he's not going to get it. I'll show it to you in a second. Just oh my gosh. So yeah, I updated the blog, added all the information, and I also, last time I talked about the apple caps, and I got in touch with Ariel Benjamin, and I asked him I told him that I had talked about the apple cap in the episode, and he got back to me and thought that was nice. I asked him if he ever had planned to, make a PDF of that pattern himself and host it on a website or upload it to Ravelry in another way. And if he didn't, I asked for permission to put it on the blog. And he very graciously allowed me to do that. So the apple cap pattern is on my blog as a PDF, the Live Learn Knit at blogspot.com. And it is his version of the pattern, which I said comes in 3 sizes, 6 months, a year, and 18 months. And, you know, so it's all his writing and that. And then I added a photo for it. So if you want the apple cap pattern, it doesn't link to that through Ravelry yet. I'm not sure if he did, but I did put a comment on the pattern page with the link to the blog. You know, it's in the comment section, but it's not on that main details page of Ravelry. So, you know, you can go straight to the Live Learn Knit at blogspot.com blog to find the apple cap pattern. And I will update today after this episode when I write the show notes up. And I'm also going to have another bonus today, and this is what George really wants. For one thing, he likes plastic bags, and there's a plastic bag here. That's part of what he wants. But I will be putting a recipe for this whole wheat, honey oat whole wheat bread. Because I baked bread this week. I should hold it nice and straight and show you isn't that pretty? I know there's a little ear hole in there. I didn't roll my loaf, my dough, as tightly as I should have, Paul Hollywood. I'm sorry. But it tastes wonderful. And it was funny. I was sorting through books and patterns. Don't do that. And there was a 1-page printout of a bread recipe, and with very little information and no source. And so I thought, well, did I ever make this? Was it good bread, bad bread? Where'd it come from? So I needed bread, and it cooled off enough where I could bake one day. So I did that, and I made the bread, but I tweaked the recipe. I did not make the original recipe. So that's why I thought, well, I will put this one on the blog. If any of you are bread bakers, you might like to try it. It turned out really well. So that is all the administration type information today. And now I will talk about what I'm wearing and why this episode is called Dreams and Delusions. Because we dream about our knitting, we dream about our creative life, and some days, sometimes, some projects just don't turn out how you expect, do they? Yeah. So we keep going, we keep trying, but dreams and disillusions. I think, you know, we have to face reality. And this is sort of a face reality project. This is my Basketweave cardigan. And so it's I would call it a transitional sweater, summer cardigan. It's an elongated garter and a rib basket weave pattern, texture pattern. It's just got a simple garter stitch hem at the bottom and sleeves. And here are the details on this sweater. It is, first of all, I started it in 2011 in the spring, and I finished it, I'm looking at my Ravelry notes here, December 31st, 2019, which meant that it had been sitting as a project for years and years, probably 3/4 done or 5/8 done, you know, just needed ribbings or something, and I didn't finish it. So it was a challenge for me to finish. I always like to try and finish projects by the end of the year, record them, get them off my UFO list, and be done with them. And so this one was very close, so I did finish it. And now between 2011 and 2019, I'm sure I changed sizes up, down, up, you know, and then down. And So I have no recollection really of what size I was when I started this sweater, but it's too big for one thing. But that's not just because of my size measurements. It's because most likely also in 2011, I was not a devoted swatcher like I am now. I know I swatched this texture pattern. I don't remember that I swatched. Well, I did. I did probably a small swatch, you know. So it's, I'll stand up again. It's too big. And here's where it's too big. See, it looks, I mean, I love the look of it. It looks lovely, but the fit of it is terrible. The only place it really fits right now is down here in the hips. And even that is probably a good, you know, I could probably take in a good 6 inches total and still have it fit in the hips because of how stretchy. Look at that. Look how stretchy a ribbing pattern is, and I should have known better. You know, so that's just way too much. And here's the other place where it's way too big. Here's my armpit. Here's my armpit. Here's where that armpit of the sweater should really be. And look at how much that is. I mean, here's the bottom, you know, and I don't have skinny little arms. I have big arms. But there's the bottom of my arm. You could fit almost a whole nother arm in there. So it is way too big. And again, this is my original design, if you will. And it's based on a stitch pattern from an old, either a Vogue knitting had a basket weave, elongated basket weave pattern in there, or it was an old vintage Woman's Day knitting pattern magazine from the late 50s. I remember seeing, I tried to find it and I found something close to it. It just had a teeny photo. You really wouldn't be able to see if I held it up. But I do remember liking the look of the basket weave, and it was a written pattern instruction, not a chart. So I took and wrote it out and made a chart, and then I tweaked it so that it would have, I think, more garter in between, just so that like a number would work, you know, work out a little better. And that there's actually, I think there's a one round, well, it's not all knit because you have ribbing, but there's, yeah, I tweaked the pattern. And I don't think I wrote out my version of the texture pattern anywhere. I must have hand notes on this somewhere. So, but I did say that I found a stitch pattern I liked and charted it out. So that's the first thing, not really taking into account what ribbing, you know, how stretchy ribbing does. The other thing is the yarn is also factoring into the bigness of it. This is Lion Cottonese, which is out of production now. I think they have an equivalent. It's got another cotton type name to it. But it's 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. And what I was aiming for was a lightweight summer sweater, you know, a summer cardigan to put on. This, and it's a worsted weight, or maybe they consider it Aran. I'm not even sure. Worsted for sure, because I used a size, I didn't put the needle size down in here, but I think I used a 7, maybe, size 7 needle, size 8. I don't think I used an 8, probably a 7 needle to knit this, US 7. So it is not a lightweight sweater. It's lofty. The yarn itself, you know, it's not a heavy cotton, but it's bulky, all the same. There can be lightweight, but yet bulky, if that makes any sense. So that's another, you know, thing that missed the mark. I wanted lightweight sweater, and because of how much yarn I used, how much bigger I made it, and the yarn itself. It feels bulky. It's more of a transitional sweater for now, you know, to head into fall kind of project. So not that, you know, nothing I'd want to throw on at the end of a very hot day where it, you know, just to cool off, if it cools off. So there's that. And then, you know, since I was doing it myself, I've talked about, I've talked about Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system, the Jacqueline Fee sweater book, workshop book, which is also based on Elizabeth Zimmerman. There are the Ann Budd design your own patterns, you know, for top-down sweaters, for her handy book of knitting patterns where you plug your own numbers in and get something. Well, this sweater was based on a new approach to me. It's this book, Custom Knits by Wendy Bernard. I think she says Bernard, could be Bernard, but Wendy. And she has done Custom Knits and Custom Knits 2. And she has, I think she's also the Wendy, is she the Wendy of Wendy, the sock books too? I can't remember for sure. But she has in here, you know, understanding the chapters, understanding your style, size, and fit, so you can make sweaters you love to wear. She's got top-down raglans, top-down set-in sleeve sweaters, round yoke sweaters, designing on the fly, and then the chapter that I used to make this sweater, unleashing your inner designer, elements to alter and starting from scratch. And so I was starting from scratch, and she's got, you know, a clear set of instructions here. And rather than starting with your chest measurement, she has you start for the top-down raglan with a back neck measurement, and then there are formulas and what you do and plugging in numbers and how you achieve the set of numbers to cast on, and, you know, continue on. And so I started with that and followed, you know, and of course once you get so far, you know it's a basic raglan construction, and I love the V shaping. I think that is a perfect V shaping, so I was very pleased with that. I don't remember if this had short rows at the back of the neck. I don't have a note that it does, so I'm guessing perhaps it doesn't. And maybe there was a different way to accommodate raising the back of the neck since it was worked back and forth, you know, and that beginning shaping issue. So that's possible, because it doesn't ride up, you know, it doesn't ride down. It sits at a nice place on the back of my neck. It feels very comfortable. So I used her formula, but again, I think, I guess I wish I would have made maybe a plain stockinette sweater to test out her formula before I did this texture pattern, because yeah, it's just way too big, way too deep, and now it's top down. So I could easily, the sleeves are, you know, that's a lot of extra sleeve. I could, and I was decreasing, you can see how much, like, gradual decreases, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I am never going to get this sleeve stitches eaten up. So then I went very sharp decreases to get up to here, and I don't, that makes it look like I have a jewel sleeve. I don't. When I stand up, the sleeves are you know, they're very long. So yeah, I had to really eat sleeve stitches to get them used up. So I could take the ribbing off, the garter cuff off, do a severe decrease, and have a blousey sleeve if I wanted a tighter wrist. I am not going to fiddle with that. I'm not going to try and do anything after the fact to adjust the fit of this sweater. I will wear it as, and that's the thing, I don't wear it very often because it doesn't really fit why I wanted it. So I don't reach for it that much. I'll have to try to wear it a little more often this going into fall and winter. I don't think it would be a good winter sweater since it's cotton, but you know, in this transition time and in spring transition. So the other thing is this shade of blue, it's pretty, and you know, I'm sure I bought it thinking, well, I bought it in, I don't know if I said the date, maybe not here, but I bought it at Hancock Fabrics at Stevens Point, Wisconsin, one of the days that I had gone to a Hirschner's warehouse sale. As if I didn't buy enough yarn there, I had to stop at Hancock Fabrics and look to see what they had, and they were having a special closeout on Cottonese yarn, and so I bought 2 shades of blue. I bought this shade, and then I think I bought a shade that's closer to this darker color, somewhere in between these 2 shades. And I decided to use this one first. And after I made this sweater, I thought, well, I'm done with Cottonese. I don't really want another sweater out of it. It's nice. It was easy to work with, fun to work with, but I think I got rid of that yarn, the extra yarn that I had, sold it or gave it away, traded it, I'm not sure, but it's not here anymore. So, you know, I wish I would have played with the yarn a little bit more to see how it worked, done probably a bigger swatch, yeah, all kinds of things, you know. So it's a project that is, again, live and learn. I learned a lot from this that I didn't realize I was learning at the time. It didn't, you know, I was probably trying it on as I went and thinking it was fine, except for the sleeve and having to, yeah, really quick get rid of stitches. That should have been a clue. So I mean, I'm not going to take the whole thing apart. I'd have to take it way back up to here, probably. That's almost the whole sweater. So no. I'll just wear it as an oversized cozy sweater. But okay, the color of this sweater, yeah, as we say, oh, it's a color, it goes with jeans. Doesn't everything go with blue jeans these days? You know, at any color, every color, casual, formal. We wear jeans with everything. So of course it goes with jeans. Ugh. This is a color my mom would have loved. She did love this color, this shade of blue, and she would wear it a lot. I think it looks okay. It's not one of my, I'm getting into the sunlight here. It's not one of my favorite colors though, anymore. So it's just an okay color for me. So there's that. There's just a lot of things that were a disillusion about this sweater. And it's funny, I thought that phrase, dreams and disillusions, was in the Joni Mitchell Clouds songs, and it's not quite that. It's not in there. I had to look at the lyrics this week because that's when I thought of that phrase, dreams and disillusions, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And again, that's a disillusion because that phrase isn't in that song. But it's close, and it's that whole idea, yeah, we really don't know. Don't know till you know. So, yeah, so that's my learning experience about this sweater. I love the stitch pattern. I should use it again. It would make a great baby blanket. And I have done Basketweave baby blankets, not with this exact stitch, but with Basketweave, and I think they turn out very well. Again, I love texture, so that worked. I think that the garter ribbing with this texture is very classy, and the shaping is very classy. And I am kind of glad that I did delay this sweater as long as I did, because I think it was, 2017 maybe, 28, no, could have been 2018, yes. We had the area knitting guild going on at that time. It has since ceased. But we had a month meeting where we talked all about different kinds of buttonholes. And I was given the assignment of learning about, I think everybody or in the leadership group had a buttonhole different one to learn and then teach. And we had like a little round robin where people came and learned the buttonhole. So the one I was assigned was yarn over, knit two together. I think that's what it was. I love that buttonhole. It's so simple. And for garter stitch, it is just the best buttonhole. Look how round it is, how even it is. I'm trying to get that in a good light for you. I can't really see what's happening here. So there. Can you see just how even that is? It just buries itself in garter stitch really, really well. So I was glad to learn that. And I think that's what I did. I did it in ribbing, I did it in stockinette, I did it in garter, and it's a perfect buttonhole for garter stitch. And these buttons are, they're fairly large. They're maybe 3/4 of an inch. And so just that one stitch, taking one stitch away is plenty big to hold those buttons. Anything more, if you did a 2-stitch buttonhole or a 3-stitch or something, a different type, you'd need huge buttons on this sweater. And I think that the proportions of the buttons and everything are just fine. So there are some good things about the sweater for sure. And it's cozy, but it's not something I would wear I don't want to say that I would wear. I just wouldn't wear it all the time. It's not my first choice. And I don't know I guess we can't have everything be our first choice, can we? No, it doesn't work that way. But it's not that high on my list of sweaters that I grab. And maybe I'll try to work on that, but there it is. And I'm rambling a bit now about this, but so that's the sweater of today, the Dreams and Disillusions. And that is one Dreams and Disillusions story. The other one is that I was upstairs. I'm going to try and stay out of the sun today, if I can. I was upstairs, which the whole upstairs is my maker space, my studio. Sounds very glamorous in that, and it's just all my sewing and knitting and books, all my creative books and things like that are up there, and the yarn stash is up there. So it's my creative space up there. And there are 2 small closets. One closet we put shelves in. My brother put shelves in for me so that I could store all my magazines. I have them in magazine holders, and they are up there in that closet, 2 levels deep. There's a lot. And the other small closet has mostly, it's clothes, but it's all clothing and fabrics and that I want to repurpose in sewing projects, quilting, weaving, you name it. That's what's hanging in the closet. And then there were boxes of papers up on top, and there's some luggage in there. Anyway, I was cleaning out that small closet because I wasn't really even sure what was in the boxes anymore. And I'm on a process of purging, hopefully, a lot of things. And it's difficult because I get sidetracked and I think, oh, I do, how could I use this? How could I keep this and use this? And, sometimes that's not what I need to do. I need to just let it go. And that's why we're back up here. I said last time this was all a staging area for things that were leaving the house. Well, it still is, and they're all kind of that way of the camera. And then down there are even more things that are leaving the house in the next week or 2 or 3. So a lot of books and a lot of household items down there today. So that's why we're back up here. Cleaning out this closet. Yeah, seeing some of these fabrics and there was some yarn in there. There was carpet warp for weaving. And all of a sudden I got this vision in my mind of a day like today, or a little cooler, but a day like today of waking up. This was my dream of, I'd wake up, I'd have breakfast, and I'd get a beverage of coffee or tea or something, and go up there and pull things out and create and make things, and sit down and sew something, sit down and open a knitting book and try a stitch pattern, sit down and spin. I have a spinning wheel up there, but I don't use that one very often at all. Just go up and be creative. And that was supposed to be every day. Well, I mean, not every, almost every day, or a part of every day. And it hasn't been. Even after I retired, well, a lot of things, happen. Life happens. And we can't always do, work our plan. But I kind of forgot it was my plan. Just with all the day-to-day stuff that you have to do, well, if I did that, worked up there, when would I get the laundry done? When would I get the housework done? When do I get the housework done? The yard work, the endless yard work, the going places and doing things. So I know it's all a balancing act, for sure. But I just realized that I'm not living my dream of that. And that made me just a little sad. Just a little thinking, the thought of, time's passing. If that is a dream that's important, I need to make it happen. How can I do that? So that really did help with okay, well, let's clean this clutter up, and pare down a lot of this stuff so that I can sit up there and enjoy that space. Because right now it's all in upheaval, and there is too much, but it just also all needs to be reorganized and put back, and which is what I was doing with the closet. And I did make some space in the closet to put some additional things away. And I pulled out some things that's like, yeah, I really don't need this anymore. I'm not interested in this, or this is, not useful to my plan. So out it went, which was good. And just trying to think about how many of this item or that item do I need. I've been doing that recently with bedding, and, how many sheets do I need? How many different, sizes, etc. Summer, winter, all that, and getting rid of the surplus, or getting rid of the things that are too old. And that's it. So there are 2 pair of sheets that are too worn out really to use, so I can let those go. But by letting those go, what I want to do is cut them up and weave them into rugs or runners. So they're not really going to leave the house. I've got to make space for them still then in a different way. So yeah, I need to get going on these projects and start living the dream. And where I did do it for a while was during the pandemic, which, you know, we were staying home and I wanted to sew masks, and so all the sewing is up there. It was up there, but it was too cluttered, so I ended up bringing the sewing machine down here. And it was just too much rigmarole to go up there and cut pattern pieces out and cut or do something up there and then bring it down here and then go back up. And so finally I stopped for a couple days and I cleaned the space up really nicely and got my big sewing table out and set up a, you know, station to work at. And for the rest of that summer of 2020, it was wonderful. I did live that dream a bit of waking up in the morning and it's like, well, because I didn't really have anything else to do, go play, you know, to go any place to go. So I could take my beverage and go up there and work. And it was wonderful. So yeah, I need to get back to that and not let a lot of other distractions take me away from that. And I don't want to be a one-track, you know, one-track person where that's all I want to do. No, but I want it to be more a part of what I do than it is now. And there's nothing wrong with sitting on the sofa and knitting. That's perfectly fine. But I just feel it up there. There's an energy up there of all the creativity, you know. It's not necessarily down here. It's up there. So I need to make that work. So that's my focus for the next bit of time. Hopefully I get it set up before winter. I used to shut the heat off to that upstairs and not even go up there in the wintertime, but I have found through my frugal testing that it really doesn't save much on fuel to shut that all off like I thought it did. So I have been letting the heat go up there, and that's fine. Okay, enough about that. I just have a couple more things to talk about. And actually, here's the thing. If you have any tips on organization, how to sort through your things, how to decide, what do you do to decide whether it stays or whether it goes? Share those tips, and you know, we'll learn from each other. That will be very good. Because I do like to, you know, I think hearing about other people's creative ideas and storage ideas and organizational tips helps, definitely helps. So we can help each other. And the next thing I'd like to talk about briefly is there is an online event, a virtual event happening over the next 2 weekends. And it's called, if you haven't heard of this before, it is called the Have a Ball Fall Crawl, which is hard to say. I have to say it slowly. Have a Ball Fall Crawl. And this is an event that started online during the pandemic. It was originally organized because shop owners, you know, during the pandemic, a lot of yarn shops did not have an online presence even. If they did, it was not necessarily an online selling presence. So quite a few of them had to really scurry to get a platform set up or face, you know, going out of business, losing money because they couldn't have people come in the shops for how many months was that? 6 months? It's you know, getting fuzzy to remember that short time ago. But so you know, we weren't able to do our in-person shop hops that would have happened throughout the year. A Knit in Public Day couldn't happen. Maybe it did happen though, because we could sit 6 feet apart. You know, so those types of extra events that would bring people into shops weren't happening. So Sunny in the yarn shop Yarn in Eureka, California, and a group of other shop owners organized what this virtual yarn shop hop was. And it was the original one, I think, was just one weekend. So this will be the 5th year of it. And now this year it is Saturday and Sunday, September 21st and 22nd, and then Saturday and Sunday, the 28th and 29th. And it will be 20 shops, 20 yarn shops across the U.S. In the past, they have had a few from Canada as well. So I don't know if any of them are from Canada this year, but throughout the U.S. And each shop will do a 45-minute presentation. So it's like a virtual yarn shop hop. And the presentations generally, it's so interesting to watch because it's like a travelogue in some respects. And you think, oh, I didn't know this shop existed 2 states over. Well, I go through that state on my way somewhere. I could stop there. You know, so, and we're always, I think, looking for yarn shops on our travels, and that kind of thing. So the tours, the presentations generally start out with a little overview of the communities that they're in, and you get to see some beautiful parts of the country. And I mean, I've just been fascinated. I would love to take the list and go on a tour. You know, if I was the type of person who had a motorhome, or, you know, did that kind of car travel, I would do it. I would be on the road looking for all those beautiful towns to visit and shops to visit. And so then they'll show their shop, and a lot of times these shops are, you know, some of the time they're in like vintage downtown, historic downtown areas in old buildings, and they have cool neighbors that are, you know, coffee shops or fancy bakeries, or, you know, other specialty shops around them. And so they highlight those kinds of things, and then they will take you on a tour through their shop, and you get to see all the things that they have there. And then they will do the live presentation, which is generally they will try to feature something that's specific to their shop that, you know, you couldn't find anywhere else. Like if they're a shop that does custom dyeing of their own yarn lines, they will show you those. If they are a shop that has custom designs that are just available there, they will show you those. And if they don't have either of those types of things, they usually have, you know, store sample interpretations of the popular patterns. This year, they've also started having keynote speakers on the very first day of this event. The first one was Joji Locatelli, and last year it was Kay Gardner from Modern Daily Knitting, and this year it's Melanie Berg. And if you know Melanie Berg's designs, she does a lot of the big shawls, the 3 or 4 or 5 color shawls, very geometric, very you know, textures and colors, combinations and that. And she has some sweater patterns and some other things as well, but I think she's very much known for her shawls mostly. So chances are in these shop presentations, they're going to be showing Melanie Berg shawls and probably have kits made up in various yarn combinations, color combinations and that. And they will have links on their websites to all of the information that they're talking about in their presentations, so you can find, here's what we're showing you, here's where you could find it on our website, or they have PDFs that they send out or make available during the presentations. And these presentations, they run from noon to 5 Eastern Daylight Time each day, so 4 days. It's a lot, but they have now, over the years, they keep tweaking this, and so now they record all of these, and at the end of each day, after all the live presentations are done, then they upload a recording. So if you have registered for this event, you get this link to the recording. So you don't have to sit there and watch the whole 5 hours each day if you've got other things to do or places to go, people to see, etc. Because our lives have gotten back to where we are doing things now. We're not sitting at home knitting all the time. So you can watch them later, and they're available, I believe, for a few weeks after the crawl is over. All the details will be on the registration page, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It does cost $10 to register, which covers, some of the web hosting and organizational things like that. But also involved in this virtual shop hop are prizes. They have prizes donated by yarn companies. Barocco has been a big contributor in the past. This year I know Malabrigo has contributed. I will also link to their Facebook page. And if you follow that, you'll see all the postings they've posted what some of the prizes are going to be for this year. In the past, Knitter's Pride has donated needle sets, which, that's a pricey item. And so they do, if you register, you are entered in drawings for these prizes. And that, is a nice bonus if you should happen to win a prize. So there's a little incentive that way. And $10 really, can you buy a nice skein of yarn for $10 anymore? Well, yeah, you could probably, you can find, but it's basically, yeah, a small nice skein of yarn. But even, most yarns are 3 times that nowadays for a luxury yarn. So it's, if it doesn't sound like a lot to you, yeah, try it. I have bought a few things in the past after I've seen presentations. Not a whole lot, but so if it's something that I really want or that I know I couldn't find in my local yarn shops, I have bought. And actually, I think I've used most of the things that I've bought. I know I made a shawl, and I don't wear shawls. This was a gift. I made a shawl from a kit that I bought. I bought a case, and I used that a lot. So, yeah, it's been worth it. And for some of us, we don't have a local yarn shop. A local yarn shop might be a 2-hour drive away. And I have been very fortunate to have, a shop 15 miles away. And recently, in the past, there were 2 others nearby, and now they're gone. And so the next one is 50 miles away. Well, and then what is Decorah? 75 miles away. So that's getting out there, and I could foresee a drive of a couple hours to get to a yarn shop. So to buy online is a necessity for a lot of us. depending on where we're located. So give it a try. If you're interested, the information will be on the website, and Melanie Berg's presentation, I'm sure, will be inspiring. It is, even if I'm not going to buy anything or don't have the intention of buying anything, it's inspirational. It gets my creative juices flowing, and I sit and knit, of course, while I'm watching it, and I take notes. So, yeah, it's a good excuse to knit. We all like to watch things while we're knitting. So there's that. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about today, just a little update. Oh, I haven't done it in a while, but I'll add it on, is some book chat. Because I mentioned back, I think early this summer, that I was reading How Green Was My Valley by Richard Llewellyn. And I did finish this book. I finished it a month or so ago. But it was a slow read. It was a slow read because the language, it's the story of a Welsh family, growing up in Wales at the turn of the century, I believe, late Victorian times. So it was written in 1929. So the language is a bit different, and the Welsh, well, like here, it's just they're walking up. Hugh and, is this one his girlfriend? Somebody. They're walking up the hill, and he says, "Come on, girl," I said. "There is slow you are." So there's a lot of interesting word positioning. There is slow you are, or there is pretty. There's a lot of there is pretty, and they always are calling each other my little one. And it's funny because when he was a child, it starts out when he's a child and it goes through his adult life, the main character. Well, when they say my little one, of course, yeah, they're little. They're or a woman, a small woman, my little one. It's a term of endearment. But they are even calling these two fighter guys call each other my little one. So it was charming. It was very, very charming book to read, and the descriptions were so lush, and I wanted to savor it and take it in. And I actually had a second copy of this book. It was really old and beat up, and my knitting friend Ellen, I thought she would enjoy it, and so I offered it to her, and it was on her reading list, and she'd never read it, so we were reading it together, and we'd go to knitting on Wednesdays, and we'd call each other my little one. And then also in our knitting group was Becky, who has Welsh heritage, actually. So she got the book after Ellen, and I don't know if she's finished it yet, but I know she was reading it, and I think she's finished it by now. Just, yeah, we enjoyed discussing it together, and everything that happened in the book. It was just, it was one thing after another. And I'd recommend it. If you haven't read it, it was very good. So that was that one. And then more recently, I read this one, Ghost Bread by Sonia Livingston. And I'll put links to both of these in the show notes. Sonia is a lesser-known author. I believe she's only written 2 books. They're memoirs. It's a nonfiction. This is a memoir, but it's written as fiction memoir. Although it is his family story. This is definitely a nonfiction memoir, and it's funny. I think it says on the back here, they do put a little blurb on the back at least, and not just reviews, but the first review says, like an American version of Angela's Ashes. The book allows us to encounter and see, taste, and smell poverty through the eyes of a beleaguered and intelligent child. So it's a story of this girl growing up in Western New York in the 70s. And I grew up in the 70s, and I could relate to this. in many ways, and in some ways not, but I at least knew the time frame, the time period in that. So I believe she was probably a couple years older than me. But yeah, so she wrote this book, and it did win an award for creative nonfiction. To me, it reminded me more of The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. A little bit more like that, but even not like that. It's its own memoir, and very good, very quick read. Some of the chapters, I mean, are just a page, you know, that's just a page, and there you go. So it was quick to get through, and you could do a chapter and think about it for a bit, and then sit down and do another one and think about it. And yeah, so it went from basically, I think, from the time she was 5 or 6. I mean, she went back to what she could remember. And oh, okay, so it does say she was born in 68, so she's younger than me, a little bit younger. So she's 60s and 70s and into the 80s growing up. But so yep, she goes back to what she can remember through high school. And did she talk about what she did when she got through to college? I don't know. It basically ends with her high school graduation. So very good, very thought-provoking, and you know, how does it relate to my life, etc. So that's Ghost Bread, and those are 2 books. If you like to read and knit, or read instead of knit, sometimes it's too hot to knit. That's all I have today for Friday the 13th. It's a lot. This went on for an hour. I babbled, as usual. But I'm not going to do a whole lot today. I'm going to go upstairs and sort more things out. I'm on a roll. So I'm going to do that for a while. I have to knit on that red sweater that I showed a few episodes ago, because I'm hoping to have another try on Tuesday with my cousin's daughter. It's getting very close to the end where I'm going to put ribbings on, and once you do that, there's really no turning. Well, there's, you know, it's an ordeal to turn back and do adjustments and modifications to length and that. So I want to, get another try on and get it finished and done with before winter, so that I can do projects that I want to do and get other UFOs finished. Some of them have been around a long time. I mean, if it took me 8 years to make this sweater, there are other old ones up there that need to be done. So that's all I have for you today. If you have a dream or a disillusion, or is your dream a disillusion, how do you fix it? That's what we need to figure out. Figure out what our dreams are, and how do we make them happen? How do we make them come true for ourselves? How we do it is we get going, right? We get things done. That's what we're going to do. Thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.